everyone, Anna is here. Thanks for joining me. I just want to make sure I can see your comments and before I get on. Okay, all right, I think I'm set. Happy Sunday, everyone. You can make money or you can make excuses, but you cannot make both. This is another favorite quote by Grant Cardone. Welcome again. I'm so happy you can join me today. Now, we are back here today for our weekly money date. For those of you who are joining me for the first time, I'd like to talk a little bit about what money date is. So money date is a time you set aside for yourself to check in and see how are you doing with your finances. And I'm going to discuss a little bit later today questions I want you to keep tracking for yourself on a weekly basis. But before we get in, today actually is a holiday. It's Father's Day. So I want to wish all the fathers out there a very happy Father's Day. I know that everybody's celebrating. We love you, and our lives couldn't be possible without you, at least mine. So I'm going to speak on my behalf. But happy Father's Day to all of you out there. Now, so the goal with the money dates on the weekly basis is to make sure that we're keeping track of what's going on, because I know you guys work hard all week. I do as well. But Sunday seems to be a good day to check in and see how things are going. So in just a few seconds, we're going to dive deep and see what our process is like. But before we do that, I'd like to share with you a lesson I learned from my dad growing up. And it isn't exactly a money-related lesson, but the more I thought about it today, the more it made sense. And here's the lesson that is coming out clear for me. Work hard and never give up. Now, my dad came to the United States when he was in his early 30s, and he had to provide for his family, which was my brother, myself, and my mom. So in his mind, it was no question whether he had to take one job, doing whatever he could do, 2 jobs or 3 jobs. So that was the idea that he instilled in my mind, is that anything you would like to accomplish, all you have to do is work hard and never quit. So as I saw him push so hard growing up, that sort of became a mantra in my mind, is that never, never, never give up. Actually, Winston Churchill happens to have a quote that sounds just like that. So now, before we dive into the process of money dates, I'd like you to get out a piece of paper, and here's the questions that I need you to have answers for yourself. Number 1, how much money did you make this week? Right? So whatever you have to do to figure out what your paycheck was this week, you need to look into your bank account, you need to go print out a statement, figure out exactly how much money did you make. Number 2, how much money did you save? Maybe you don't even have a savings goal for yourself. So that would be something for you to think about in the next week before we get back here. Question number 3, have you incurred any new debts? Or have you actually paid a debt off this week that you feel really proud about? And question number 4, are you anticipating any unusual medical expenses or anything that you haven't planned for? And how are you going to pay for that? Now, if you started with me last week, that was the starting point, right? So we had something that we could relate to. Now, if this is the first time you're joining me, this is going to be your starting point. All you need to think of for the next week are the answers to those questions. Now, you may also realize that you need to work hard in looking at your expenses, and we're going to dive deeper as we go through this process. But please remember, how much money are you going to make? How much are you going to save? So perhaps we need to talk about a savings goal. And are there debts that you need to work on and unusual expenses? Now, before we finish today, I'd like you to share this video, but don't just share. I'd love to learn what lesson you've learned growing up from your dad. And if there's not a clear lesson that you've learned, what would you like to teach your kids so that they grow up to be very successful individuals? I thank you for joining me today. Let me know what questions you have. Happy Father's Day, and I'll see you next week yet for another money date. Take care.